All right, so there's a thread from Zalavier Nelson here. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. That is, it's been shared around a bit concerning Baldur's Gate 3, and I think that the conversation that it raises is really, really interesting. So I wanted to add my 2 cents on it. So first, let's go through what's been wrote here. So he says, like a lot of people, I'm deeply excited about what the folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3, but I want to gently, preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. You can't separate a game from the process used to build it. So let's take a look at what Larian is taking into the development and the final version of this game. 1. Dev cycle stretching back to 2017. This should be 2, I think. 2 massive games and their definitive editions worth of tech and institutional knowledge to draw from. 3. Super successful early access period lasting 3 years. This explains a lot because I thought that Baldur's Gate has been out for years. Baldur's Gate 3 had been out for years already. I guess it's in early access. I don't even know, man. I just think this conversation's interesting. So anyway, moving on. Super successful early access period lasting 3 years, providing crucial community feedback, bug hunting, and cash flow. 4. Over 400 developers in 7 different offices around the world, not including outsourcing partners. 5. The license, brand, and world of one of the largest entertainment IPs in the world, Dungeons & Dragons, at the apex of its popularity with the rise of the actual play movement and a movie. Now, I'm kind of out of the loop on this kind of thing because I don't really do Western RPG stuff very much, but is D&D at the height of its popularity? I thought that everybody started playing Pathfinder, which is like similar, but isn't it not D&D? I better look into this before I say too much here. Pathfinder. Okay, it says that the first edition is based on revised 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons under the open game license? Alright, I don't know, man. Look, my whole point is it's been a long time since I've heard anyone say that they're playing D&D. But moving on. This is a small, incomplete list. Larian is coming into this game swinging with a gigantic weight of expectation to deal with, but they're also doing it with an immense amount of wind, that being direct experience, resources, specialty tooling, etc., at their backs. As a TLDR, in the era of mega games, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the largest attempted, built by a specialized group of people using mature tech specially built to make this specific game, reinforced by invaluable mass player feedback and market validation ahead of its launch. This is not a new baseline for RPGs. This is an anomaly. Trying to do the same thing in the same way, especially without the same advantages, could kill an entire group of studios. If they go as big or bigger with their next title, Larian themselves could die. That's the risk and reward of the mega game. We're an industry dangling elephants over cliffs, pointing at the ones that don't collapse under their own weight as indictments to the ones that do. So please, celebrate the achievement represented by Baldur's Gate 3. It looks like a massive amount of effort is about to pay off in a big way for one of the brightest voices in the medium. But you shouldn't shout that every RPG should be like this going forward. You have no excuse. You've not just missed the point. You've created the expectations and conditions to ensure your favorite creators may never be able to give you the thing you love ever again. Okay. So he has done more responses to this, maybe has elaborated. In fact, he's probably elaborated on like the exact stuff that I'm going to say. But I don't know. I wanted to talk about this thread here. Because I disagree with the idea that people should essentially ignore that this game is really good. Because I think that it is beneficial. I don't think it's a problem. So what he's worried about is the idea that if everybody expects future games of this genre to be as good or bombastic as Baldur's Gate 3, they are going to repeatedly be disappointed, and every studio that attempts to make Baldur's Gate 3 going forward is going to fail because they don't have the resources available that the developers of Baldur's Gate 3 have, and so they're going to come up short of expectations, they're going to disappoint people, they're going to get panned, they're going to close down, worst case scenario, right? That's what he's saying. Or at least that's what I'm reading out of this. I disagree that that's what the effect of the raised standard is. So the way I think of it is let's say that we're right, that Baldur's Gate 3 is this amazing end-all be-all CRPG. And for the record, I mean, I should lead this by saying this is kind of a weird thread to me in the first place because I feel like this is a mega hype. Like, this is mega hyping up this game. It's just whenever I've been this excited for a game, because I've fallen down this pit before of being so excited about a game that it couldn't possibly meet my expectations. Anecdotally, like, just to throw this out there, because it's funny and embarrassing, I was about this excited about the game Too Human. So anyway, what I want to say is that I think that so let's say that Baldur's Gate 3 really is this good, the end-all be-all CRPG. Now, in my opinion, like, yes, this does raise the standard of RPGs going forward. However, other games will thrive by being different, not by being the same. What you're saying with this thread is that any other game that's trying to be exactly like Baldur's Gate 3 is going to fail because it's not going to be as good as Baldur's Gate 3. But the thing is that that's fine, you know? The fact that people who like this exact kind of game have gotten the best thing that they've ever gotten is only a good thing, and that's great. And if anybody else wants to survive in this genre or with this player base, what this means is that they need to innovate, and that's good. If you take, for example, something like Grand Theft Auto, you know, Grand Theft Auto has a huge budget, massive team, experienced team, tools to make their game specifically. I feel like something like Grand Theft Auto 5 is a very similar case to this, where it's you can't expect another team to make Grand Theft Auto better than Rockstar North makes Grand Theft Auto. But that's fine, because we don't need another Grand Theft Auto. Instead, what we get are games that are similar, but they get their own audience because they're unique in a certain way. Nice 666, by the way. So what I'm saying is, like, Saints Row, for example, got its popularity by being a little wackier, a little more irreverent, a little sillier in certain ways, and it actually found its grounding and went off in a totally different direction with Saints Row 4. You've also got games like Sleeping Dogs, right? Which, you know, it gets its popularity from its more unique combat system. My point is, other games can exist in this genre. They just have to do something more unique and have their own personality. And then people will like those games also for their unique personality and what they do differently. Another example, like getting even a little bit more off, but that's kind of my point, is like Yakuza, right? You know, games that have a lot of similarities to what makes Grand Theft Auto popular, but a totally different game, and people really, really latch onto that series, I think, mostly for the writing and the story. These games they're so unique from each other, and they each have their own strengths, their own personality, and that's good. I think another example of this would be like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is, you know, such a massive, incredible game, you know, made by a team that's super experienced at what they're doing, and to a lot of people, Elden Ring is like the end-all be-all game of that genre, you know. But we just very recently had Lies of P come out. That's been pretty popular. And there's all kinds of different Souls-like games. Neo is pretty darn popular. Wolong Dynasty, right? These other companies are able to find success in this genre again by doing things unique and having their own personality. People like Neo not for what it does exactly like Souls. They like it for what it does a little bit different. The company that made Elden Ring and Miyazaki, I mean, they started out much smaller. They weren't the big budget, super experienced company as far as this genre goes. Miyazaki was a new director at that time, but they made something so unique and with so much personality that it was successful, and that's what grew them into now being this huge deal. So again, my entire point is just that I think it's fine that the very specific game of Baldur's Gate, the D&D property, the very specific battle system it has, its specific aesthetic, all of these things, it's fine if the perfect game of that type has been created, because other games survive by being more unique after that. And I think that that's a good thing. It pushes us forward. If you take the Metroidvania genre, for example, Super Metroid is for some people, Super Metroid still is the best Metroidvania, and they'll play that forever. But there's a lot of people though who prefer Symphony of the Night because of what it does differently from Super Metroid. And personally, and this is what I was talking about with the inexperienced teams and the smaller teams and such. Personally, while I love those two games, my favorite Metroidvania is Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight was made by 3 people who had barely made a game before. Despite that little amount of experience that they had, they made. I mean, not even the best Metroidvania. Like, I'd go so far as to say as Hollow Knight is easily top 5 best games ever made. 3 people. Tony Stark did it alone in a cave, right? Like, 3 people with hardly any experience made Hollow Knight. And so anyway, that's just kind of my whole take on this, is that you don't need the biggest development team to make a better game. And I think that if it's true that Baldur's Gate 3 is this good, then all that's going to do is push innovation from other developers and push more unique personality from other games. I think it's fine that another company can't just basically make the exact same game and be successful with it because Baldur's Gate 3 already exists, right? I think that that's fine. The thing that people will still play other CRPGs for is for their unique take on it or their unique personality. And again, innovation, personality, these are good things in an artistic medium like this. And lastly, once again, I just think it's funny because like all of this is based around this idea that Baldur's Gate 3 is so good. If it's the best thing ever for you, then awesome, enjoy it, and let me know what other games you're excited about. All right, that's about it. See you. Oh shit, wait, that's Charlie's outro. Have a good day. Fuck. Bye.